Good. Yeah. Yes.
So for my project, I made a fiber optic clock, and the inspiration behind this was aesthetic-wise Italian futurism. I just think it's kind of unique approach to everyday objects like this diamond set, and then architecture as well. And then additionally, I wanted to work with fiber optics just because I think they're a cool material that you don't really get to work with very often. And then I was also inspired by these clocks, which are all just like individual numbers lit up at different times type of designs. So my initial design was kind of this, heavily relied on hard lines and strong geometry. But I kind of, as I got in the build process, realized that that'd be kind of hard to build and take up a lot of time. So I changed it to this rough sketch of just basically the clock with aluminum cladding on top and then a wooden box to house all the electronics underneath. So for production, I started off with laser cutting this hole pattern for all the fiber optics. Then I started putting them in as shown here. That's the 7 in the first digit. And then this took forever, but I started to put in individual strands into each holes and then bundling them by numbers. And then I coated the whole thing in black epoxy, which then I eventually cut all those down and then polished the front. So for the lighting, my initial idea was to have a back plate of acrylic with the LEDs for each number hot glued in. I ended up straying away from that because I realized that how the strands of fiber optics work together couldn't really force them to go into that exact pattern. So I just took off all the hot glue and then put the LEDs onto the backs of the strands, like the bundles, and then sealed them on with heat shrink, and then wired all them up, and then all these wires go onto all these multiplexers in the back, which that's all the wiring inside the box. And then for the actual box, I had to cut out holes for the Arduino's inputs and the potentiometer, which controls the colors of the lights. And then, so the metal cladding is just held on. It's just sheet metal held on with screws, one on this side, one on this side, and then one on top. And I used the back that I was originally going to hold all the LEDs to kind of guide the cladding over. Then here's the final product. Used industrial materials, which I think achieved the aesthetic because that was important to Italian futurism. Geometric shape still, and then the geometric paint pattern on the box itself. Then some reflections. I think it achieved the aesthetic ultimately, and I'm overall happy with like the quality of it, but given the very tedious work, I probably should have planned a little better to make it less tedious, but it came out all right. Some numbers could be better. For instance, the 0 on this digit, like the top's just very, not very bright at all, just because the strands don't make good contact with the LED. And then additionally, the box that holds all the electronics could fit together a little more. I didn't really account for all the jumper wires and the space they take up. And then before the expo, I'm going to try to fix up the electronic housing and play with the clip code a little bit to just make it work a little better. So thank you. Any questions?